Your brain, first of all, is the consistency of a soft-boiled egg. It's 78% water. It's like soft butter. And it's so much water, and the water actually facilitates electrical charges. So then, as you interact with your environment, when you think differently, when you make a different choice, when you behave differently, when you have a new experience, when you feel differently, they have biological effects that causes those neurons to literally repattern themselves. So you learn something new. Nobel Prize laureate Kandel in the year 2000 found that when people learned one bit of information, they doubled the number of connections in their brain from 1,300 connections to 2,600 connections. But here's the key. If they didn't review that information, if they didn't revisit it, if they didn't rehearse it in their mind, those circuits were pruned apart within hours or days. So if learning is making new synaptic connections, then remembering is maintaining and sustaining those connections. So what's the ingredient that causes those neurons to stick more? Attention is one of them.
Repetition?
And repetition is the other. And so when a person begins to repeat something like a phone number or a line in a song, or they're meeting someone for the first time and they have to pay attention to their name, if they're not present and they're not paying attention, of course, those circuits never actually glue together. But if the person produces an emotional response where you shake their hand and they give you a hug and kiss and they say, "I know your mother because I went to school with her."
Oh, yes.
And the moment you see this person and you feel differently inside of you, the moment you feel differently inside of you, you're going to pay attention more to whatever's causing it outside of you. And that event in and of itself is called a memory. So the more highly charged emotional experiences we have that take us out of our resting state causes us to pay attention more to our external environment. I mean, think of 9/11. Every single American in the United States can tell you exactly where they were, who they were with, and what they were doing that time of day if they were awake. And we could say that everything that they were seeing and hearing changed their internal state.
True.
The moment they felt differently, they woke up and they looked to see what caused it, and it was that event. So then they look around them and they correlate their changes with everything in that moment. So then the key then is, if we are going to truly make long-standing connections in our brain, the more passionate we are, the more we can feel deeply, the more that we can assign meaning to what we're doing in the midst of that elevated emotion, it's going to cause us to come out of our resting state, and the internal experience that we're having becomes a long-term memory. And now the deal is sealed. You can have 10 great things happen to you in one day. You can have one bad thing happen. And you will always remember the one bad thing, and you'll forget the 10 good things. And the reason being is because we're programmed for survival. In survival, the one bad thing that happens, you got to pay attention to, because you're going to have to anticipate, if it happens again, how you're going to deal with it.
True.
So we put a lot of our attention on those survival things, and we're wired for survival. So then, in order to truly make substantial changes, not by forcing an outcome or controlling an outcome or overly analyzing an outcome, but to really change it in the new model of science with a clear intention and elevated emotion, I think we have to lay down the very thing we used our whole life to get what we want for something greater to occur. And that's really easy to talk about, and it's a little more difficult to do. The ultimate truth is oneness, and everything else is a diminishing of that. So if you understand biologically where oneness occurs, it occurs right here in the heart center. And what if you took 10 minutes out of your day, 15 minutes out of your day, to rest your attention in that center? Where you place your attention is where you place your energy. To cultivate an elevated emotion like gratitude or joy, or the joy for existence, or the love of life, or compassion, and you felt it deeply. Do you know that the moment energy moves into your heart, the field around your body expands to 9 meters wide? When you're living in survival and you're living in fear and anxiety and anger and hostility and violence and sadness and guilt, you're drawing from this invisible field and you're turning it into chemistry. And the field around your body shrinks. Now you're more matter and less energy. You're more particle and less wave. And you don't have any energy to actually for long-term building projects like growth and repair, or to create anything you want in your life. Turns out that the heart has a magnetic field. So it's like dropping a pebble in the water. And if you can sustain that emotional state, now you are dropping pebble after pebble and it's sending ripples out. The more profound you feel, the more passionate, more enriched you feel, the bigger the stone you're dropping in the water, the bigger the wave. Now, all frequency, all energy carries information. So that's the magnetic.
The same.
So then people make up things about reality because of their past experiences, and all beliefs are subconscious states of being. We have people in our work that have healed themselves of very serious health conditions that have taken 4 years or 3 years to do it because it took them 5 years to create the condition because of a stressed out lifestyle and poor choices. And they understand that in order to turn the battleship around, even placebo studies sometimes are 6 or 8 weeks long. The depression studies, the person's taking a placebo for 6 or 8 weeks to remind themselves of a new state of being. So you don't need the sugar pill or the saline injection to move into a new state of being. You can combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion and change your very physiology. But you're knocking on the genetic door, and it may take a little bit of time to continuously knock on that door before you program the gene. Other people are able to do it in a very short amount of time. So the key is that we just have to be persistent with it, and we start to see some changes.